I'm Dr. John Gartner.
And I'm Dr. Harry Segal.
And welcome to this preview of Shrinking Trump.
On our show today, we cover the 8th week of Trump's disastrous term, and we look at the resistance that's been building. But we have a fantastic guest, Amed Baba, who is he's a journalist, he's a commentator, and he's an expert on Project 2025. And I think you'll really enjoy his take. He's a great interview. What else, John?
Well, we cover what we call the coming Trump depression, that he is doing everything he can to destroy the economy. And it's because of his mental illness that we warned people about. It's not a strategy, it's an illness. Speaking of information, you and I have been giving, along with other mental health professionals, a lot of information to the public about Donald Trump's psychopathology, information that sadly not enough people paid attention to. But now that he's crashing the world order and the world economy, people are starting to maybe reconsider. What's very interesting to me is one of the Canadian politicians, I don't know if this was in their parliament or in some other context, actually cited our book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump. Well, it's not just mine, there's 27 contributors, but edited by Andy Lee. But this book did get a lot of impact when it came out. We know that John Kelly bought a copy of it secretly, remember, to try to understand Trump. And he said this was the first thing that really explained Trump to him. Listen to what this Canadian politician has to say about the book.
Trump's repeated comments about annexing Canada and his actions reveal a sociopathy that was described in detail in the 2017 book, The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump. In it, 27 psychiatrists and mental health professionals made it clear that Trump is a sociopath who poses a threat not just to the U.S., but to the entire world. Some of the assessments of Trump's personality in the book include the following, and mind you, these are assessments made by professionals who work in the area of mental health. Trump is an impulsive, immature, incompetent person who, when in the position of ultimate power, would easily slide into the role of tyrant. His sociopathic characteristics are undeniable and present a profound threat to democracy. He is profoundly an evil man exhibiting malignant narcissism. And, if left unchecked, his pathological narcissism could lead to World War III. I would encourage members of the media who haven't looked at this book to please take a look at it and get a real look into the kind of person that Donald Trump is, if you don't know already from the insanity that comes out of his mouth. To our political leaders, I say Canada cannot engage with him as we do with other normal leaders. He has shown himself to be an enemy to Canada, and we have to treat him as a clear and present danger to our country and to our allies. And to the Canadian media, I say, begin telling the story of the fascist sociopath occupying the White House using that language so that Canadians in the world know the very real danger he presents to peace and stability.
And whose language was he quoting there, John?
Well, there was one quote from me, yes, and that he quoted there. But this is very exciting. This is what we tried to avoid. But now that it's really happening, now that we really have a mentally ill, demented president, okay, people are starting to call it out for what it is, because it's the only thing that explains what is happening. Well, I'm very excited to introduce our next guest, Amed Baba. He's the founder of a best-selling Substack, Amed Baba News, and he's a columnist for The Independent in Britain. He has documented every day of Trump's first term, and he is one of the first people to really cover Project 2025 in depth. So that's really what we want to talk to him about. Now, he's been quoted and cited in the New York Times, Washington Post, CBS News, Rolling Stone, and others. So we're very lucky to have him. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love the work you guys do. I'm excited to help, navigate this authoritarian insanity we find ourselves in.
Oh, yes. Well put.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Well, having the fact that you've studied Project 2025, and unfortunately so few people did, right? As you've been watching the unfolding of this manic destruction of our society, you must be looking at it with an extra set of eyes where you're saying, page 49, page 750. So can you maybe tell us what the playbook is that other people might not realize, that there's actually a method to this madness?
There is surely a method. And thinking about what's going on now, page 43, right? Russell Vaught's now OMB director, he wrote the executive chapter, right? The chapter on the executive and reshaping it. So what we're seeing right off the bat with these firings and these purging of federal civil service workers, this dismantling of agencies, this systemic targeting of key programs, this is straight out of that executive chapter, right? They're seeking to not only purge nonpartisan civil servants. This next step that I think Russell Vaught wrote a memo on that we can touch on in a little bit, that I think really gives us insight into what comes next. But what I'm looking at is this dismantling of agencies and reshaping it into their own image by what the next step is, I think, is loyalists. They want to install loyalists to replace these civil servants. And so that's really the big thing. And then obviously the DEI pushes, which targets fundamental civil rights. They targeted an executive order the Heritage Foundation has wanted to repeal for decades. It's really, they're using it as a checklist, man, just to put it in different terms. They're using Project 2025 as a checklist.
Part of that, too, is the privatizing of things. I think people are starting to understand that Elon Musk and Trump are coming for Social Security and Medicare. They're talking about these entitlements as fraud and Ponzi schemes. And it seems like their end goal is that we would privatize Social Security, and then we'd all be putting our money in their Bitcoin rather than the government taking care of us.
Yeah, it seems like they want to privatize it. They want to make it more like a 401k system attached to what, like a crypto of some kind. If we do go, what will be attached to Trump coin? I don't know what it would be like. I mean, they're really Musk is calling it a Ponzi scheme while they're seeking to potentially turn it into one. Right? They really want to defund these programs. They want to defund these programs because they're trying to make room for the trillions in tax cuts that they want to restore here. And I think fundamentally, this is why we're seeing this backlash from people, because you're going for these programs. You have Musk unilaterally making these cuts. He might have had his role limited in the last week. We'll see whether Trump stands by that. But what we have seen is this systematic targeting of government, reshaping it into the far right's image, meanwhile almost eluding of government by targeting these programs, enriching themselves, while the average American gets the short end of the stick. And that's what I think Democrats need to message around, is that very clear, transparent, anti-corruption message.
But they've been having a really hard time messaging on it. And partly because of the barrage, right? They flooding the end zone, as John would say. But do you see them stumble very much? Is there anything that surprised you that didn't go as well as they might have hoped?
I'm really glad you brought this up, because yes, they are stumbling a lot. And that's one of the things, I've been writing about Project 2025 since the fall of 2023 and been really dissecting it. And I expected, and I knew Trump's incompetence at the top would eventually trickle down. We knew they would overreach. But I thought they were going to go more the Russell Vaught route. Now he's trying to take more control behind the scenes and take things more methodically, more slowly. But instead, we had Elon Musk with a literal chainsaw come out here and just start recklessly cutting things. And then they're mistakenly firing people who are monitoring our nuclear sites, so they have to rehire them. They're mistakenly, he admitted that he mistakenly cut Ebola prevention and then had to bring that back. And then all the stuff they're not bringing back, the courts are ordering them to do so. So the stumbles, frankly, the sloppiness has made me, and I know this sounds wild to most people when I talk to them, but it's made me more hopeful, because if they had came in and what I expected was Russell Vaught-led effort to come in here, basically provide a legal theory, an intellectual theory to justify their authoritarianism. I thought they were going to go full unitary executive theory, and really, we can get into what that is in a little bit, but I thought they were going to laser target specific statutes, like the Impoundment Control Act of 1974. Right. I thought they were going to try to make specific maneuvers so that Chief Justice Roberts would greenlight their authoritarianism, but they're moving so sloppily that he couldn't greenlight that last thing. And I think they've set themselves up for failure here. And I think all they've done is turn the country against them. And I'm hoping this means they're slowed down in their efforts, because they move so legally dubiously that it's, like you said, Harry, it's just a real reckless incompetence they have.
So I hope you enjoyed those short clips, because you should really watch the whole show. You can find us on Really American. Our show is Shrinking Trump. We drop every Friday in a live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and we hope to see you there.
See you there.